All right, guys, today is transmission and clutch day. I have decided that I'm going to use the clutch as is. I talked to Alex over there at Absolute Driven Performance, and he kind of got in my ear like, look, give it a try. You know, if you go to 1200, it might have stiffer pedal feel. You might not be happy. At least try this. You know it works. You measure the disc. You know everything's pretty much like new. Why take the chance? Because the difference between the HD and this is a heavier pressure plate, which means the pedal feel is going to suck. Shouldn't say suck, but it's definitely going to be a lot harsher. If I don't absolutely need it, then I'm not going to. If I do, I will switch over to it, pull this out, and put that in. But if I don't need to, I'm not going to. So here's everything laid out. This is a twin disc kit. So this is the flywheel that is. You can see where I wrote the numbers before for torquing it down. It takes 75 foot-pounds to torque this down today. They also have it labeled flywheel side, flywheel side. So that faces toward the flywheel, then the other side is facing out. This is your middle floater disc. In this case, though, it is a strapped floater disc, meaning that it doesn't sit there and chatter. If you've ever seen an old Supra, if I can find an old video and throw up, they sit there and it sounds like what I call the jar of marbles. It sits there, especially at the light and neutral. It sounds like you got something wrong with your car. It's from these discs. When you had triple and twin discs, it would sit there and bang around. This fixes that, and it's actually pretty smooth. Now, people say the T56 is loud. It doesn't help when you have a steel bell housing. But for me, I'd rather have steel bell housing. I really do like my legs and I don't want to take any chances. So what we're going to do here first is put the flywheel on, get it all bolted up, and use these ARP flywheel bolts here. These are reusable, and these are from the old setup. I'm going to torque them to 75, maybe do it to 80 since they are sort of torque to yield, but not. So I might go 5 pounds over to be safe, and I've got my digital torque wrench over there. So Sean here helped me. Held the crank. So crank these down to 80 foot-pounds. 75 is what's rated on the website. I also do this, mark it with numbers so you can cross torque it. So 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, so on and so forth. Again, cleaned off the surface again, cleaned off everything I could just because I won't want any dirt, debris, anything's been left over. And now we're gonna put the clutch discs on itself and test it off. We're gonna have to check the finger length and stuff off the face of this. So there's a measurement we have to do. So need to get this all on, and then we'll put the bell housing on, check that length, and then that's how you set the preload for your throw-up bearing. Now, this is the same clutch I had before, but I just want to check it, make sure everything's still within spec because you don't want to take any chances. So yeah, let's go ahead and put the clutch discs on. Next up you're going to do is put your first plate on, and there's a side that says bottom, and then on the other side it says two flywheels. So this is your bottom plate. The other side is faced towards the flywheel. All right, I'm using this alignment tool, which I don't need yet. And then you're gonna put your floater disc on here, okay? It can only go on one way, guys. There's only one way this can go on, all right? So we got it strapped on here. See if you guys can see it here. It's all strapped on. This should be facing down, okay? So you see the disc there? Those should be facing down like so. Next thing we're going to do is pop on our next disc, and then we're gonna put on the pressure plate itself, and we'll line all this up. So yeah, it's pretty basic. Again, these were torqued down to 25 foot-pounds. These ones then go to 35 foot-pounds. All right, so let's walk back under here, guys. I wanted to show you, I already put the bell housing on too, but before we put the pressure plate on, there's another one that says top under here. Sorry for the echo being under the car, but there's the plate there says top, and the other side of that then says towards flywheel. Then you put this pressure plate on, you'll see these bolts here. Again, none of this takes red Loctite, anything. It even says specifically in the instructions, do not do that. The first ones that we tighten down, guys, there's 3 bolts. They go to 25 foot-pounds, then these go to 35 foot-pounds. You can see I marked it there with numbers so you can torque it properly. Kind of like you would do a head, you want to do a crisscross pattern, or like you would do, I shouldn't say head, like you would do a wheel. Then I went ahead and put the bell housing on. I'm missing one bolt. I forget what the thread is, but I believe this is SAE, so I don't have any bolts here because, well, I need an SAE bolt, so I might run up the Tractor Supply. I just don't know what thread that is, so I might have to rob one of these. Well, actually, I don't think these even fit in there, so I'm not sure what that is, but I need to get something because that's what I'm going to use for my ground. I don't know what I did with the bolt, but yeah. So bell housing's on, top bolts are all on. Got the starter back in it there. Got a new bolt on it. I cleaned up the starter pretty good. I didn't want to buy a new one if I didn't have to. It's tucked away. So I cleaned it up. It's an OEM Denso 1.2. Should be good. Next thing we got to do is put the trans in itself. I wanted to show you guys too. We have a ton of very smooth in here. So you can hear, like, it's not too tight, like I can slide this in and out nicely. So I'm hoping that helps us. And you can see here, I made sure we have plenty of room to pull the trans down and actually slide the transmission in, or pull the engine down so we can slide the trans in, because if you leave it like this, it won't work. You're gonna need to pull it back and then slide the transmission up in. It's gonna take 2 to 3 people. It's usually what I do, since I don't have what I need is a stand so I can put underneath of this here. Need something to push up on the pan so it tilts the engine back, and then we can use this engine sand from my buddy Rob that we can use to tilt the trans in the correct manner and then slide it in. It is always a pain in the ass getting the transmission in just because the clutch is already bolted up. I like with the V160, you pulled it to the trans first. People don't like that you have to do it through the window, tighten up all the bolts. Me personally, I'd rather do that, mess with that, than dick with this thing trying to slide it in. Sean, was this not the easiest install of a T56 in history?
Yes, it was.
Literally, it was only just me and him. I know people say, well, I do it by myself all the time. But again, I don't do this day in, day out. But literally put it up on this. But everything was lined up for the teeth for the clutch. And I kind of would say half-assed it really, just got it close. And then I just picked up on the back of it, jiggled it side to side for a second, slid right in, lined right up on the teeth, lined up with everything. No problems, no issues. I couldn't believe it. I've never had it go in that smooth before. That's what she said. But I'm blown away. Got all the bolts in already too. Like, that was awesome. That's how it should be each and every time.
Exactly.
So there it is. Again, big old Grannas Racing there. Joel is one of the great supporters, so I appreciate you, brother. You're always helpful with me. I really appreciate it, man. This is my second T56. I had the regular T56. This is the T56 Magnum F. This one just fits in the tunnel a lot better. I'll show you guys putting on the shifter and stuff here, but great transmission, great setup. Just got to put on the brace now. I also have Joel's new mount here. This has a little bit better dampening, not as harsh. Now I have the other one in case I want to go back to it to get stiffened up a little bit. This is a little bit softer, less vibration through the car. It's supposed to be better on your shifter. I also have his new studs. These studs here are stronger. The old ones tend to break off apparently over time. These ones are supposed to be a little stronger. So I'm going to give those a try. But yeah, let's get it mounted up to the chassis here and put the drive shaft in. All right, you can see my giant fluid needs fluid, but all in. The easiest this has ever went in. Very fortunate. So next thing we're going to do is bleed it here. I made this stainless steel line, comes from the top there. I wish I would have looped it a little bit tighter. Wish I would have looped it starting here because it's sitting a little bit further back, would have had more space here, but it is what it is. I can move it and bend it up. I've never done it this way, so I wanted to try it. I need to loosen this line too because when I push it up, you can see it's going to kink there. Not kink, but it's not as fluid or nicely done. But I'm going to go ahead and bleed the clutch in this. I've got my professional clutch bleeder. I think you've done every single one of them. Thank God it's not like brakes, but we just got to do the one line. And there is some fluid in it, but not much. Just use regular .34 Valvoline, nothing special. And yeah, this should hopefully go well. All right, so far so good. I've got the 3.5-inch drive shaft on. It's a drive shaft shop. Got my brand new bolts, and I've got my Nordlock washers now. That being said, I don't know if this is correct. So when you mount these up, they are, what's the word I'm looking for? They are clocked and they are put on in a certain manner. What I mean by that is when they put these drive shafts and balance them, they're bolted a certain way, and you can sometimes rotate them 180 degrees and it gets rid of vibrations or certain issues. So that's something to be cognitive of. So I don't know if it's, when I get up 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, if it's going to have some shake, I want to take it off and flip it and see if that fixes it. If that does, I'll take these bolts off, put new Nord locks and then red Loctite, try to keep it from coming apart. Again, I got my pink stuff here. Hopefully this stuff doesn't come undone. I need to get Nord locks for this too. Forgot to get those. Nord lock those. So yeah, hopefully it's not too bad. I'm hoping this drives really smooth. Again, hope. All right, so now that we got the trans, everything else in, it's time to put the shifter back on, which is over here. Get this here, and there it is. So here's the shifter. I love how basic this is. Has these like little grooves, notches in it that locks it in, and then uses one bolt to hold it on. So it just, just sits in there like so. And then there's one little nut, which is over here, one of bagged or something. I'm not sure which bag it's in. This one here, I think it's in this one. Yeah, right there it is. This little guy right here. This right here goes in here, like so, and then just takes this guy here to tighten it up. If I can get it to line up, apparently. Oh, come on. Really? There we go, finally. There we go. And then just tighten up. Last thing I want that to do is to come loose. So that's that. Now, man, it feels good. I haven't been able to shift my car in so long. Ugh, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to have this back. I'm pumped to be able to try and drive it again. We bled the clutch yesterday too. I forgot how light this is. Like compared to my other friend's car. This is exactly why I didn't want to go to anything else, because this is so super easy to push in. I remember driving this car, was so silky smooth. I know the Tilton is a great clutch, but I just feel like it has a much heavier clutch feel or pressure plate. Again, it must hold more power, obviously, but it's like 50 foot-pounds more. So I'm like, I don't know. When I drove Colton's car, it just always felt heavy. And yeah, so maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I'm excited to get this a shot. Now I got to put this cover on, which there is arrows on this thing to tell you which ways to go. So you see a little arrow right there? Sorry, I painted this years ago. It tells you it needs to face forward on the car, so it needs to go in like so. Like that. And that's it. Now I need to find something to cover up this hole, because that lets heat and noise through too. But I'll get to that eventually. And shifter's back in. Now I replaced this boot when I refinished all the panels and stuff. So the boot's not OEM. You see it has a little silver strip on it there. So it's not OEM, but it fits in there nice. There's no good way to replace these boots either, so it's just something that has to be done. Yeah, good to have it back in. So this one cable's in the way. Hold on here. I need to fix that, but. And this shifter's loose right now. I need to, it's like in a weird spot. Like I need to twist it more, but it's like bottoming out. That's the only thing. I wish I could adjust this. There's no good way. It needs like a lock collar or something. Because once it does loosen up over time, then you got to really crank it. And I'm afraid to rip threads up. But I don't want to put it on too tight, because I'm afraid that I have to put it on again and take it on and off before I want to make sure the car's running and everything's good. I don't have to drop the trans or do something stupid before I crank this thing on. So, but it's just good to, oh man, it feels good. I forgot how tight this thing is, damn. And I forgot to go into reverse. I need the, I was like, why can't I go over? And that reverses down and over this way anyways, but you really got, oh, I can't even get it over. It has that electronic lockout, which will be set up through the Nexus. So yeah, that's the other thing I want to mention. I don't have to use the Bluetooth controller, nothing, any of that stuff to get the reverse lockout to work. I don't need any of that. The Nexus is going to control all of it. So anytime I want to go to reverse, as long as I'm under a set mile per hour, the Nexus will be able to read it and tell me, hey, I'm allowed to go into reverse. So it's pretty freaking neat. Yeah, I am pumped. Now let's get back out of the car. All right, guys, one of the last things we need to do here is fluid. So T56 Magnum, what I've used in the past is just Mobil 1 ATF. It takes Dextron 3, Mobil 1 ATF. That's what they actually used to recommend. Too many people kept asking, blah, 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 blah. So Tremec went and said, hey, we have our own fluid, which is probably Mobil 1, something of that nature. But I don't know for sure. It cost me, I think it was like $12 more than what I could buy the Mobil 1 ATF. So I'm like, screw it. I'll just buy the stuff from Tremec. So there's no like, what were you using? But I'm using your stuff. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm using your fluid. But again, before they had their own, they used to just recommend Mobil 1. So if you have it locally, you don't feel like ordering something, you want to go to Advanced Auto, Walmart, O'Reilly's, just go get that. But I decided to order this. Came in pretty quick. I don't even know what the weight is. Does it actually not say weight? It says HP MTF, because it is literally automatic transmission fluid. So that's where you can't get it mixed up. Developed specifically for the use of the Tremec aftermarket transmission. See if it focuses here. For the T5, TKO, and Magnum series. So good for anything 2008 and current. So yeah, the one thing that's a pain in the butt with this is getting the fluid up in. I used to have a fluid pump. I'm gonna try and use this. This might be too long and it might be too wasteful. I'm gonna have to cut the hose down some. Give this a shot. I used it for fuel once. So all that should be dried out. The fuel doesn't really, hang around. So yeah, I'm gonna try that with this because I think it takes 3.5 or 3.75 quarts. So I should have enough, even if it's a little wasteful using this, because some of them might get stuck in the line, whatever. I should have enough extra because whatever's left over in one, I'll dump it to the next one, so on and so forth. This way, no fluid's wasted, and I get every last drop. You'll usually know when you're full, it'll start coming out the fill hole, but it says online 3.5 to 3.75 quarts. All right, so guys, everything is in now. Now, I did put the exhaust and the downpipe and stuff on, but I knew this was gonna be a problem. I wanted to try, Sam at PHR was like, dude, just let us send you a new mid-pipe. I'm like, let's see, I got this one here, let's see if it fits. And it kinda does, but it doesn't. It pushes on everything out of the way, and it really doesn't fit well. And again, he even told me, he's like, Ryan, just let us send you a new one, but I was being a hard head. So it's just a lot further down from the body than it usually would, and on top of it, it pushes the exhaust back pretty far and up against the body, so it's literally resting against the body. So none of this really fits, even though it looks like it does. This is usually flush, so it literally is sitting about an inch or so, inch and an eighth past where it normally would, and then it's got so much pressure on, no matter how I spin it, do whatever, it doesn't fit. I don't touch this clamp, so I have it set up exactly as it was before. So the only thing that's really being adjusted is there. and there. And again, since it's a V-band turbo kit, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you don't have the T4 that's fixed to tell you like, hey, it really can only be angled this way. So you've got where the turbo mounts to the manifold, then the backside of the turbo plus that and that to try and play around with. So you have to leave it all loose to find the right angle. But again, at the end of the day, it has to sit flush mount to mount. So there's only so many ways you can do it, and unfortunately, it just doesn't fit. So it's my own fault. So Sam is sending me a new mid pipe, but everything is in right now. We are super close, guys. 27th is coming up. That's when my buddy Jose said he's going to send out the harness for me. So we'll get that in and fire this thing up. Talked to Aiden over at Volano Wheels. He said he'd have the wheels out here by the end of the week, so I get those on. I already have the tires. We are super, super close. I know I keep saying that in every video. It's just, I love getting down to this nitty gritty. I'm nervous too, because I mean, starting it up, it's a built engine. It's not like in the past where just fire it up. It's already, I mean, it's a good engine. We know it's good. It's a little bit different this time around. So to say I'm nervous is an understatement. I'm just a little scared. I want my engine builder to be here when we fire it up, just so he can check over it, look at it, be like, yep, everything's okay. I made sure to get the right oil with him. I made sure to check over everything because I want to make sure whatever I do is up to par because I'm just nervous at the end of the day. So everything's in. Found a few more spots. Also put some titanium bolts right there and right here because, you know, titanium is life. And yeah, so guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. Typical, you got any questions or concerns, hit me up. Later. Peace.